5-0.
Hello everyone, this is Dan from USMX Football here. Sorry if I'm coming at you a little late with this video. I've been feeling a little under the weather and just wanted to get my thoughts really collected before I made the video. So we're going to be talking about that Champions League final, how insane it was, and just breaking it down. So right away, that has to be one of the most dominant, one-sided performances, not only in a final, but just in a football game I've ever seen. But oddly enough, it was extremely enjoyable. Maybe except if you're an Inter or Marseille fan. But yeah, it was an extremely enjoyable game from start to finish. A lot of good narratives you can talk about, but I think we have to start with Luis Enrique and the work he's done. I think it's just been insane how he's transformed a team that was known as the Divas, Hollywood FC, just where superstars would flock to for contracts, and has made them genuinely one of the most aggressive, hard-pressing, gritty teams in the league. To make a transformation like that in a span of less than 2 years is quite frankly insane. It'd be the equivalent of turning this Manchester United team into maybe like a Brentford on steroids or something like that. It's honestly insane. But even, better, because on top of being so gritty and difficult to play and aggressive, they are also very technical, stacked to the brim with quality. So an absolute nightmare combination to play against. So let's talk about that man of the match, Desiree Doué. He's a guy who, there's been a lot of build-up for him this season. Neymar comparisons saying that, he's the next star in this French national team. And I think in this game, he really put on a clinic. A lot of people talking about Lamine Yamal, how good he is, but it almost felt like Doué had something to prove. He almost wanted to say, hey, you guys are talking a lot about Cherki, a lot of Yamal talk. My name's got to be in there. And after that kind of performance, I mean, how is he not? Probably easily added an extra 20 milli of his market value just with that one game. I mean, what a performance. And from the start of the game, you kind of got the impression that Enrique told him, hey, have a few shots on goal, just to get it out of your system. From there, don't be scared to take a shot where you might think it, just don't be scared. It's a final. You have the quality, and just express yourself. And I think that really helped PSG because Inter were just terrified. There's a really good clip of Dembele with the look of just absolute locked-in determination on the edge of the box, ready to just hound down Sommer, who just looks like he is done with this game. It's not to say he had a bad game, but dealing with those three and the midfield just pressing you to the neck, it was so hard for Inter to just get into this game. And especially after the first goal, once PSG had a lead, it almost became impossible for Inter to climb back out of that hole. And then the second one came in like just a few minutes later. So at that point, the game was kind of over. We just didn't know it. And Inter didn't have their first shot on goal until the 70th minute. So that should tell you enough right there. But even though Doué was man of the match, I got to give a special shout out to Vitinha. What a performance, man. In the preview, we talked about how Joao Neves could have been that guy in the midfield. Just winning everything, dictating play. And he had an excellent game, along with Fabian Ruiz. By the way, there's no one in this PSG team who gets below an 8. And some guys are getting 11s, I don't care. But yeah, Vitinha was just Vitinha is getting an 11, just by the way. I don't think he got an assist at any point, but he was just everywhere. Astute defensively, won all his duels, controlled the tempo of that game, and was so damn creative. Anything important PSG created, it had Vitinha's feet all over it. He was really the blueprint mastermind of creating chances in that midfield, and we saw that so well for that third goal, where he literally runs box to box, creating space, hitting 1-2s to create the goal, and assists Doué for that second goal of the night. Just a peach of a goal from start to finish. And I have to say also for that first goal, there's a brilliant, 4 guys around Doué, and Vitinha threads in a ball so brilliantly to pick him out. The assist before the assist, to where then Doué just crosses it, flat cross to Hakimi, and he taps it home. But to find and pick out that pass, that right there was absolute world-class quality. Um, and let's get into the lineups. They were mostly as predicted, with, for me, the only big surprise being Pavard in defense. He would come off, though, for Bisek, but Bisek also was clearly on 100% fit going into this, and he would later come off for Darmian. So the other big surprise was probably Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram. We had said that they probably weren't both going to be 100% fit, and that I expected one of them to come off, but surprising for Mehdi Taremi. But surprisingly enough, both guys completed the full 90, so there you go. However, even with those two back for the entire game, Inter, just never looked like they were going to pop off. I mean, like we said, they didn't have their first shot till the 70th minute, which for two strikers, that is pretty bad. I know they weren't getting the best service. They were just getting overrun in midfield. But yeah, that's pretty embarrassing. I think that just shows how aggressive PSG midfield was, shutting down any opportunities Inter might have started creating. I thought Hakimi and Mendes didn't have particularly, amazing games. I thought they've had better games before, but they didn't have to, as any minor mistakes they might have made were stopped by solid displays from Marquinhos and Pacho in the back. Guevara as well was so aggressive, pressing, always looking to create something or have a good shot up when he was on the ball. And Dembele as well. We have to give a shout out to Ousmane Dembele. I mean, when you talk about a transformation, we talked about how Luis Enrique transformed this PSG side. I think there's no better player exemplary of that than Ousmane Dembele, who at his time in Barcelona was a very good player, but he did have the stigma of being maybe a little lazy. People saying, issues with training, issues with diet, behind the scenes reports, of course. But Luis Enrique has turned this guy into, in the Spanish translations, they call him El Mosquito, El Zancudo. And you see that so well when he just is all over that front line, chasing the ball down, hounding it, looking to create. And it did feel like this game was his Michael Jordan game, where he didn't score, but he had 2 assists and he was selfless. He really led by example as one of the best players, saying, hey, it doesn't matter how good you are, we all need to put in the yards to win this ball back, to just all work as a team. And I think that's such a slap in the face to what Mbappe was trying to do with this PSG team. And it's no surprise that they've just come on leaps and bounds since his departure. I thought Di Marco didn't have a particularly good game. He was pretty poor defensively, but I'm going to have to throw in Bastoni on that side as well. They were just overwhelmed by Doué and Hakimi for large portions of the game. Sommer, I thought as well, could have maybe done better on some of the goals, but when your defense is getting overwhelmed that much by, in my opinion, a top 3, front 3, I can't really fault him to say anything is his fault, because it's just so tricky. I thought it was interesting how Dembele, Guevara, who are both left-footed, and Doué, right-footed, all would interchange in that front line. Equal, and they would all be comfortable in these different positions. Someone like Doué has played this entire season primarily on the right, but also, sometimes on the left and even midfield. So when they asked him to interchange and rotate with his teammates, he's so comfortable doing it. And I mean, Dembele is one of the most, if not the most, two-footed players in world football currently, so he didn't have any problem being on the wings. And Guevara as well is very adept with his right foot as well. So just having to think of Inter's back line and Sommer having to deal with that much rotation and speed and pressing for 90 minutes, mentally, I think they were defeated, at least after the second goal. And they just collapsed to that. And then throwing on Bradley Barcola once your legs are already done by like the second half, it's like, oh, what a headache. What a headache. And Barcola, let's talk about him, because him and Mayulu came on, and the former could have had one of the best UCL goals of all time, up there with Bale in 2018. And Mayulu actually got on the score sheet, but Barcola, yeah, he's kind of becoming a meme, so I think he's got to get his end product a little bit there, but because it's a very competitive team, but there you go. Uh, to say this final was competitive is to say Mbappe is an underpaid baller. However, I did enjoy this. I'm not sure if this is the beginning of a new dynasty like Real Madrid in the last decade, but if PSG can continue to farm, no pun intended, the best talent in France and the Francophone world, but I mean even just the world in general, oh, they're a scary team to think about with how much Luis Enrique has transformed them. Ah, man. As for Inter, one of the good things about recording this a few days later is we have gotten news that Simone Inzaghi is considering leaving, just days after that performance to Saudi Arabia. Um, I can't really blame him because, especially for coaches, when it's much different for players. For coaches, there's never really going to be that opportunity where they can just cash out like that. And I know he made a lot of money. No, I'm sorry, his brother made a lot of money. Yeah, he had a fruitful career as well, but maybe I'm not so sympathetic. But chase the bag. I'm not going to judge you. Yeah. As for Inter, it has to be so heart crushing to make it to the final day of the league, lose that, then lose in the final of the UCL in one of the most embarrassing fashions of all time, and then in the semis as well of the Coppa Italia to go out early. Having potentially been on track for a treble and come home with nothing, it's always going to be extremely disappointing. Especially knowing this team is getting on a bit, and Inzaghi already left. So it's kind of a scary time to think where this Inter team goes from here if they've already peaked and they might never see a final anytime soon. So I think, this result was harsh, but, Inter, you should know you were beaten by the better team. I think you can simulate that game 100 times, and I struggle to think Inter win more than 3, to be honest. That's how much better and dominant PSG looked. I think that's going to conclude my discussion. I hope you guys enjoyed. And shout out to the channel. We've made it to 4 subs, which is huge. So thank you very much for the support. The road to 10 subs is underway, so let's try and get there. But for all you guys watching, I really appreciate it so much. We've grown so fast. It just means so much to me. So thank you for all the support. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Allez les bleus, and I'm out of here. Peace.